now.
Hey, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. I wanted to use my finger guns, so got really excited about that. Hope you're watching live, but if you're not, we appreciate you checking out the replay as well. So just going to go ahead and say, if you are watching live, give us a what's up. Let us know you're watching. Type something in the comment box there. Today is the 6th of October, 2021. This is episode 359. And we were just talking before we went live. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 episode. What'd you say, Bradley? 364?
Yes.
Episode 364, because I can't do math while I'm talking, is going to be 7 years of Hump Day Hangout. So that is awesome. I'm glad that we got a reminder of that more than a month out, because we will definitely be doing something special. Really happy that we've been able to do this for 7 years. I know these guys are too. And one, we're appreciative of you. We've got people who have been watching the entire 7 years. I know we've had people who watched, who were doing other things, who have come back. We've got people who have just joined us. Regardless, it's great. We appreciate the questions, the interaction, and it's been a blast. And we'll save more of that for the actual 7-year episode, which is, again, episode 364, which will be in, it sounds like 5 weeks from now. So that said, let's say hello real quick before we dive into questions. And we also got a couple of quick announcements. So Chris, how you doing today?
Been good. Been busy working on a couple projects here, so super exciting things are coming up. And I noticed one thing today. Autumn or winter is definitely coming, because I think we're all in like long sleeve or pullovers today.
Yeah. Definitely cooling down. It started raining here. I'm in Seattle. It's nice. It actually feels like fall and winter is coming. So I'm guessing the same thing for you, Chris, in Vienna.
Same here. Today is actually the first day where it's like rainy and actually colder. Like the last 2 days were, I think yesterday we had 27 degrees or something like that. It was unreal, super sunny and stuff. So like actually on, Sunday I actually got a sunburn on my back again, and that in October. So I can't remember that ever happened.
Well, Bradley, how about you, man? Are you rocking some warm weather in Virginia, or how you doing?
No, it's cooling down. It's fall, and today it's dark as shit outside. It's been raining all day, but it is what it is. But no, things are good. And for clarification, today is episode 360.
Okay.
And so episode 364 is in 4 weeks from today, which will be 7-year anniversary for us for this. So I think I agreed to when you said, is it 359, before I actually really heard what you said.
Yeah, no worries. So I appreciate that. You just want to be agreeable with me, right?
Yeah. So
cool.
no, but I'm happy to be here. We got a lot cooking, a lot of cool stuff coming in the next few weeks. Restructuring some stuff and all that, and we got some new services that we're going to be launching, and all kinds of cool stuff coming up. So stay tuned.
Yeah, we got some questions covering some of that stuff, and I also just wanted to say one of the cool things was POFU Live at the end of September. Right, that just got wrapped up. We just finished editing the video, so everyone who is an attendee already has access to the recordings. We are going to, as usual, make those available to everyone else once we get everyone access who was actually there. So you will be able to purchase access to the recordings. That said, we always encourage you to join live, and I might have to include a couple of comments from people on there. But just like a live event, there's the stuff that happens in between, whether it's the VIP event, whether it's the once the recording stops, chats after hours. But that's where you can get a lot of really good nuggets out of any event. And I just say this, one, because I want you to join us live, but keep that in mind too when you go to conferences or you go do these things. Doing it live in person, whether it's virtual or not, can have a lot of benefits. But if you're unable, we get it, whether you're traveling, you have a job, you couldn't make it for whatever reason, we will be able to get you access starting sometime next week, potentially the week after, once we get everything firmed up. But excited to share that with everyone.
Cool.
All right.
Also, we had the webinar with Michael Bose and Viper Tools on Monday, and that was a great webinar. And he gave a really nice offer at the end that I thought was really nice. So if you guys haven't seen it, and if you want to find out about using click-through rate manipulation, or I've always called it CT spam or click-through spam for SEO purposes, which can help you to rank. It's not the be-all end-all, but it does help with especially if you got your on-page right. It's essentially sending traffic signals, right? And that works really, really well. I've been using it for about 6 months myself, tested a whole bunch of different methods, and recipes and such, and discovered what works well for my projects. And I'm going to be sharing that as kind of a bonus webinar for anybody that purchases through our link. So, check out the replay and let me know what you think.
Awesome. Well, that's about it in terms of announcement. I did just want to say too, though, we had several people join after POFU Live, found out about our mastermind, hopped in and joined the mastermind. If that's you, whether you are a digital marketing agency owner, whether you're a consultant, you're getting started, you want to grow, the mastermind is a place for you. On top of that, we also have some brick and mortar business owners who have decided to take things under their own hands, or to learn it and then to kind of teach that either to their employees, to a VA, something like that. So if that sounds like something you want to find out more about, you can always go to mastermind.semanticmastery.com. Be happy to have you there if that's a good fit. But you can, again, find out more about that at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. Cool. So that is my spiel before we get started. It looks like we got a bunch of questions today, Bradley. So you guys ready to hop into it?
Yeah, sure. I was just replying to Chris, but yes, stand by. Let me grab the screen. I can't believe we're coming up on 7 years, man. That's insane.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Now I'm going to have to go back and do like a time lapse of like receding hairlines or something. And wrinkles.
Yeah. And you'll see the progression of me like gain weight and get really fat and then get super skinny, and it's crazy. And I've definitely gotten a hell of a lot grayer and all that. It's funny, man. Time flies, I'll tell you what. So, all right, let's see where we're at. Starting with it.
Trev T.
Yeah, let's see. I think that's it. Yeah, that should be it, right? Yeah. Yep. Okay. Thank you. So Trev says, if brand has had several Web 2.0s built already and or a Gstack built, but they haven't been built the SM way, if the SEO Shield is bought, do you start from scratch or use the properties already built? Thanks. Well, typically it's, the way we've always done it in the past. And just so you guys know, I'm certainly happy to try to answer some questions going forward about whatever they're going to continue to do in MGYB, but we have kind of separated. Again, it's an integral part of what we do. So some questions I'm not going to be comfortable answering, just because in case there's any changes or anything made at MGYB, it would be better to direct those sort of questions to MGYB and Heavy Hitter Club, because that's where they're managing all of that entirely now. Again, it's going to take some time for us to completely decouple, and I get all that. And again, I still absolutely the methods that I'm using still as well. They work. There's no reason why I wouldn't use them, but I just want to make that real clear, guys. Over the course of the next few weeks, then we're going to have to start directing those types of questions to the source instead of to us, because they may be making changes that we're going to be unaware of, if that makes sense. So I just want to clarify that. I'm sure I'll have to repeat that many times over the next few weeks, and that's fine. We need to start that now, because this is the official first week since we have made the official split. Okay. So I just want to clarify that. So back to your question, Trev. He says, if a brand has had several Web 2.0s built already and a Gstack built, but they haven't been built the SM way, the SEO Shield is bought, do you start from scratch or use the properties already built? Thanks. It depends. Oftentimes it's easier just for the team to start from scratch. The reason why is because it's actually faster to build from scratch than it is to go in and try to rework everything the way that we have always done it, right? Which is interlink everything the correct way. It's honestly, it's more work trying to fix something that's not done properly than it is starting from scratch. That I would recommend though, Trev, if you have a specific case that you're trying to, that you want to present to MGYB and see how they would handle it, then just contact them at support and ask them, and they'll, somebody at support will provide you with the best answer. I understand if you have had stuff previously built and you've done like off-page SEO, like link building to it and things like that, you don't want to just like throw it away. So it does make sense. And sometimes it's okay just to have two of them. You don't want to ambiguate the brand, right? That's one thing you don't want to do. But if it's all for the same brand, then oftentimes it can be left the existing, which wasn't built the way that we would build it. It's okay to leave that in place and just build a new one. That's oftentimes the case. So again, I would suggest that you contact MGYB support and ask them how they want to handle that. But usually we would recommend just starting with a new one from scratch, right? And then depending on if the other one was branded and all that, you could leave it in place. If it was done very, very poorly, it might be something that you would want to throw away, right? To discard. So it's a good question though. So Ruggs says, hey, Brad, Marco, and team. It's going to be me and Adam and Chris going forward. But yes, Ruggs says, what is your position on partly duplicating our syndication network for short form content that's being posted on our social media? For example, the short post, not our blog post, posted on GMB and Facebook of products and services, which are usually single images with a paragraph of text. I was thinking of creating an IFTTT or Zapier triggers from Facebook to our Blogger, Tumblr, WordPress, and other sites in the syndication network that are not being directly posted. Is that okay if all of these are duplicate content with attribution link back to the GMB? Not sure about using anchor tags here. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. So sure you can. Remember, if it's branded content, let's say that you're doing separate Facebook posts, right? Where you've got either you or somebody on your team or whatever is scheduling separate Facebook posts, which makes sense because the platforms are different, right? So it does make sense to create separate posts on Facebook. But if you want to like syndicate those Facebook posts to your branded network, it's all branded content. There's no harm in that. What you got to worry about with syndicating content from some of the other platforms, such as Facebook or from GMB, provided you can get a GMB RSS, right? And depending, and I'll come back to that in a moment. But what I'm saying is, a lot of times when you're syndicating content from those platforms, the formatting is weird, like, and it's hard to get them to look right. So, and that's oftentimes why I don't do that, because it's what you run the risk of is if you've got posts that look like shit that are being syndicated to your branded syndication network, it could come across as spammy and could potentially get, not always, but could get your syndication network properties suspended or terminated, right? And that would be a bad thing. You don't want that. So, play with it. What I would suggest doing is, before starting to just syndicate content to your branded network, is maybe perhaps set up a couple of test accounts that you would be syndicating content from to a couple of test accounts using IFTTT or Zapier or whatever, and determine how it looks. Play around with it so that you can figure out how to configure the applets to produce the best result and look the best, right? So that you don't potentially run the risk of having your syndication network properties terminated. Okay, so that's what I would recommend is to play around with it. Again, like, and I've talked about this before, but recently I started testing with what's called OneUp app as a GMB post scheduling app, because it allows you to post to your GMBs through an RSS feed, which is a great way to automate content to your GMBs. And it does a really good job of that. I've tested a lot of different apps to do that, and none of them did it very well, but OneUp app does it. There's a limiting factor with that, though. They only allow a very small number of RSS feeds per account, but you can, and I've already contacted support to find out about this, because I complained to OneUp app support. I was like, hey, I love the service, but your RSS feed limitation, the number of feeds that you can have per account subscription level, is ridiculous. It's like super limiting, and it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. But they replied back and said, we do offer the ability to add additional RSS feeds for $3 per month per feed. And the way that I look at this is that it makes sense. It's cheaper still to do that and add on additional RSS feeds as needed at $3 per month per feed than it is to pay a VA to manually post our GMB posts, right? So for example, I've got a blogger who does almost all of my blogging for all of my stuff now. She does blogs on my clients' websites. She does blog posts, she does GMB posts where she publishes GMB posts as well, schedules them out in the scheduling app, whatever publishing it, GMB post scheduling app we're using. We've tried a lot of them. But what I'm saying is, I still pay her to do blog posts and then also go publish GMB posts. So it makes sense if I can eliminate the need to pay a VA to go publish separate GMB posts, because we can accomplish GMB posting through the blog posts and automate the GMB posts through an RSS feed. It's much more cost effective, right? It's economical. It's more efficient, time efficient. It's more cost effective. So in other words, instead of me paying her to do, 3 posts a week per location, so 12 posts per month, and paying her like say $3.50 or whatever it is per post, which is typically how I would pay. So instead of spending like $35 a month or $40 a month for her to pay her to do GMB posts, I can just pay $3 a month and have all of the posts that she's already publishing on the blog automatically post to the GMB via RSS. Does that make sense? So it's more cost effective. And so, but then also you can take the GMB. Some posting apps will create an RSS feed from GMB posts so that you can syndicate GMB posts. The problem I've had with that is that they look like shit when they're posted, because there's no, like when they get published on their syndication sites, right? Because if you think about a GMB post, there's no title tag. It's just post body, right? So there's no way to separate a title from whatever text you have in the post body. So when you try to syndicate, and I've done this, I've tried multiple times and never got it to work right. If I try to take a GMB post RSS feed and then try to use that to syndicate GMB posts to the syndication network properties, which makes sense to do that. The problem is whatever the post body text is the title, right? So if you've got, there's 1,500 character maximum limit in a GMB post. If you've got 1,500 characters or, whatever, then that becomes like the title. And obviously the title tags get truncated, but it looks like shit. And so like it's very, very easy to get your syndication network properties, many of them suspended or terminated because it looks like shit. and it's really spammy, and like there's no separate title tag. So again, I don't recommend trying to syndicate. Maybe if you have another solution that you found that works, I would love to hear about it. If anybody ever watching any of these webinars has a suggestion, please reach out to me and let me know, because I would love to be able to syndicate our GMB posts, but I have not found a way to make it look good. But like I said, RSS app, or excuse me, OneUp app. So if you go to oneupapp.io, I know we have an affiliate link for that somewhere. Anyway, if you go there, then you can subscribe to them and check it out, and you can start posting to GMB through RSS feeds. And that actually works out really, really good. You can't silo them. There's no way to silo them without doing posts manually, which is what I do. My team, what we do is anytime we want to do GMB post silos, we just do those manually. But our automated posts are what we like, what I call activity posts. And that's just to keep the GMB, keep activity on the GMB. Since we're publishing blog posts for clients anyways, usually it depends on the client, but a minimum of 1 blog post per week. That way, every single week, the GMB, at least minimum one GMB post per week because of the blog, right? And then the other thing that we do is I like to use the RSS feeds from the Press Advantage organization page, because every one of our projects, our clients, lead gen assets all have their own Press Advantage organization page that has an RSS feed as well. And at the bare minimum, we do at least 1 press release per location. But for clients, it's usually between 2 to 4 press releases per month. And so I like to have those also automatically syndicate and create GMB posts. Does that make sense? So I end up with 2 RSS feeds per location so that I can auto-populate the GMB posts. But it's great. It works fantastic. It's actually eliminated some of or reduced some of my expenses because I don't have to pay my VA to do separate GMB posts now. Okay. Other than when I want to do a silo. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So play around with it before you just go run wild with doing what you mentioned, Rugs. I would recommend that you test first and figure out however to configure the applets in the best way to where they work the way that you want them, and then deploy that to your branded project. All right. That's a good question. Another one, to produce content at scale for my money site and my suggested process, you suggested adding Pagerewriter. It does seem faster to use a tool like Pagerewriter, which masses top ranking content, or Quilbot, instead of using an AI tool like Jarvis first. Jarvis takes significant guidance. Yes, you're right, to create a paragraph or 2 from scratch, but it helps to include top keywords from top ranked articles with the SurferSEO integration, although not the keyword from clusters provided by Surfer. You're right. So number 1, so for the efficiency, would you start with tools like Pagerewriter first and then apply AI to the same content? Second, no. Okay, so let me clarify what I use, how I use the tools, or how in my team now, how we use the tools, right? For money site content, we use, it's all original drafted content using AI writing assistant tools now. So we go through a whole process where we generate first we do the keyword research, and we're pretty much in the same industry. So the keyword research we don't have to do anymore. But what we do is we create an outline, a content brief or an outline using various tools. I prefer either outranking.io or phrase.io as to build the outlines. And then what we do is flesh out the outlines, and we use Outranking to flesh the outlines out now, right? Because they have what's called concepts, which is like an AI writing assistant, very much like Jarvis, but it guides itself because it basically writes AI content based upon the SERP results that it pulled back for the initial analysis of whatever keyword it is, right? So in other words, it's using the SERP result content to kind of feed back and instruct the AI writing assistant to only output content that is relevant to the SERP results that it scraped or pulled back for the analysis. Does that make sense? So I'm using outranking.io mainly for fleshing out the outlines, that even if we create the outlines in phrase. What I like about phrases outlines is that it uses all questions, right? So it's all question-based outlines, and Google loves Q&A content, question and answer content. So stand by, guys. Okay, well, it looks like they hung up on me. Okay, cool. Sorry, I had left Google Voice open and I was just now getting a call. Anyway, so I like phrase for that. But if you don't want to have 18 tools, which I don't, we have a bunch of them and we use every damn one of them. But I understand if you don't. And I've said this before. I think, it's hard to beat Jarvis and Surfer, but outranking.io, if you just wanted one tool, I would suggest that one because it's really good. So anyway, all that said, we try to flesh everything out, the outline in the outranking. And then although outranking's not, the AI writing assistant doesn't produce as much content as Jarvis does. And you guys know, anybody that uses Jarvis knows that Jarvis will often create like filler, like fluff content. Sometimes you need that, right? But you have, so it's, what I'm saying is if we develop an outline and then try to flesh it out at outranking, and the content is a little bit scarce for like each of the subheadings or whatever, then we will take that over to Jarvis and then flesh it out a little bit more with Jarvis. Does that make sense? So, again, I think the way that we do everything is for money site content, it is original content using AI writing tools, right? Then for tier 1 content, we oftentimes, like, again, if it's my blogger handling it, she still uses all the same tools I just mentioned. If it's me handling it, because I still haven't trained my team on Pagerewriter yet, then I just grab Pagerewriter content and do that, because it's already ranking content, and it just makes it so much faster than trying to, as you mentioned in your question, direct the AI writing assistants to produce the output that you want. So it just seems it is definitely faster. And then for link building content, hands down, Pagerewriter is the best there is. It's just so quick. And again, you're just rephrasing already ranked content. So all content that's already performing well, and it just rephrases everything. So hopefully that makes sense. Money site content, we like to be original using AI writing assistants. Tier 1 content, it can be either or both. For link building content or tier 2 content and beyond, typically we don't do anything beyond tier 2. Then Pagerewriter is hard to beat that. And we have that link too somewhere, smshort.link. By the way, Adam, a lot of stuff that I've been using recently is in smshort.link. So
gotcha. Yeah, we'll have a chat on the side.
In case you're looking for that shit and you're going, well, where is it?
Why?
It's in pretty links in smshort.link. So
all right,
there you go. All right. So the follow-up to that, so for efficiency, would you start with tools? Never mind. I'm sorry. I already read that one. Number 2, if we mash content with Pagerewriter, we'll naturally bring in enough keywords for clusters based on the single keyword we input into Pagerewriter. I don't know. You'll have to analyze it after it's been drafted. So that's something else that we do is, if we use, like, I haven't trained my team on Pagerewriter yet, so I'm still the only one using that. And after I've drafted some content with Pagerewriter that's been rephrased and location, information has been swapped out to what I'm using it for, then I will still go audit it, either in Outranking or Surfer. I'll go do an audit. So I'll publish it, and then I'll go audit the published page for my keyword, and then I'll go do the final tuning that way. right? Again, I'll either use Outranking or Surfer for that. And that'll be that way. Again, I don't just take the output of Pagerewriter and say, that's it, it's good. If you want truly tuned content, then you still need to do a final tuning of the content. So, and again, I like to do that after it's been published on the, whatever page it's going to be published on. And then I audit that URL to have it and then optimize it for whatever my target keyword is. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Number 3, should I use the AI tool built into Pagerewriter, or do I also need Jarvis and Surfer to add depth to check my keywords? Again, I use the AI rephrasing tool in Pagerewriter, but I still do a final audit using either Surfer or Outranking. If you've got Surfer, again, guys, it's hard to get rid of one of the, I've got like 7 or 8 tools now that I have subscriptions for. And it kind of sucks because it's a lot of money, but we use all of them and we're getting incredibly good results from it. So, you asked for my process. I just shared it with you. Is this process okay for a money site? Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it is. But again, with the money site, we like to be 100% original with that, although it becomes original when you rephrase it. So yeah, you can. That's not the process that we're using, but yes, you could do it for a money site as well. All right. Great questions, Ruggs. Henry's next. For SEO siloing, which yields better results, a virtual silo versus physical silo, or would a combo of the two somehow be best? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's preference. I prefer just a virtual silo now, which is just the post link permalink structure, as opposed to category / post name, right? So for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, in WordPress, in permalink settings, you can either select post name, which would be domain.com/ the slug for whatever page or post you're on. Doesn't matter how far down it is in the taxonomy of the WordPress site. Doesn't matter. It's always going to be domain.com/ whatever the page slug is, or post slug. Physical silo would be like if you have a silo and a hierarchy with categories and potentially subcategories as well, then that shows in the URL. There's no difference in the SEO performance. It's just a personal preference. I used to like the physical silo structure. About 3 or 4 years ago, I switched to the virtual silo because I like shorter URLs. So it's a personal preference. It makes no difference in SEO. What makes the difference is first of all, how you stack your content, how you structure your silos, and then it's your internal linking that matters, not the permalink. Does that make sense? So hopefully that clarifies that. One plugins has been mentioned on here in the past uses category -keyword -name / post name for the silo builder. Right. That's the SEO Ultimate Pro. And that's the silo builder module. If you use the silo builder module, it will force the category / post name permalink. I don't like that. That's why I don't use that. It's not when I'm using the SEO Ultimate Pro plugin, which I've used on many sites, and for a long time, that's all I used. I never enabled the SEO silo builder because of that reason. I would build silos the way that I've been building them. And then that way I can use the post name or a virtual silo. Does that make sense? Again, I don't like using the longer URL with the category post name, because it can create some conflicts too with URL structures, depending on the type of silo. If it's a complex silo where you've got top level categories and then subcategories and ultimately posts, then you can create some really funky URL issues that are hard to reconcile when you've got the same location trying to be duplicated across multiple categories, or vice versa, the same service trying to be duplicated across location categories. It creates some really strange URL conflicts that I don't like. And that's why I started using the virtual silo method, which again is just the post name permalink, because it's shorter. And if there are any funky URL things going on in the hierarchy, that they're masked, they're not seen because of the post name permalink. I don't know if that was clear or not, but hopefully that makes sense. The sidebar silo widget, yeah, but there's other ways to do that. And that's part of the reason that for using a silo builder, part of the plugin, right? Is because at any point, if you're in a category, it's only going to display posts in the sidebar that are related to that category, right? And so it automates all of that. But you can do that using other plugins like tag pages. Posts by tag is another one. Category posts is another one. So, depending on if you're doing tag silos or just, let me just see if I, let's see, category posts. So I think one of them. Yes, category post widgets. This is one of them. So what I'm saying is you can accomplish the same thing that a silo builder plugin does with only displaying content that is relevant to the category that the visitor is like viewing at that time. You can do that with other plugins, and it's a little bit more manual. There's no question, but I don't like using the category / post name permalink structure, which that particular silo builder forces, and I think most of them do, and I don't like that. So here's one of them. Another one is called post by tag. Post by tag WordPress. Maybe I might have to say that WordPress. Anyways, I'll have to find it if I don't see it right off the top of my head. I've got it installed on several of my sites, but anyways, there's ways to do it. This is one that works really well. Category post widget, because then if you add this to the site plus something like widget logic or conditional widgets, something like that, then you can specify that it only displays on certain types of pages or posts or certain categories or certain tags and all that kind of stuff. So again, it's a little bit more of a manual setup, but it gives me a lot more control over the site build and the structure of the site and what it displays. Okay, so a little bit more manual this way, but that's the way I prefer to do it. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, instead of using post name alone plus the 301 redirects for the categories, which puts it all on the root and no structure, do tell, please. I'm not really following that side of it. So if you can clarify that last part, Henry. Next is, what's everyone's take on using the exact keyword for each top silo page in the main navigation menu and for the URL? Sure, why not? I use them in the navigation menu, and then for the top level page, like for example, more recently I started just doing location silos on my sites for like for tree service stuff. So for that, I'll do, like, if it's multi-location, I'll have a category with the location. And so I don't put like tree service plus location name as the slug, because I usually have tree service in the domain name. Usually the brands have tree service in the domain name. So it'll just be, domain.com / whatever the location name is. So I don't add tree service plus location as the slug for that category or top level page. I don't do that. I like to keep it succinct. Like I said, I like a shorter URL, so I try to do that. And again, it just depends on what the keywords are, what the domain name itself is. If the keyword's already in the domain name, I don't recommend repeating it. And past the first slash, you can still do that, but never repeat it 3 times. So if you have to repeat it once to where it would occur twice in the URL, that's not so bad. But if you do it 3 times, that's way over optimized. Okay, for a branded directory type info site, guys, we're going to have to start enforcing not too many questions all in a row, because it's not really fair to other people. But that's okay. We'll continue for today. For a branded directory type info site, is it best to use parent-child pages to keep each as parent pages whenever possible with no child pages? For example, domain.com digital marketing / email marketing versus domain.com digital marketing plus domain.com email marketing. Thank you. For a branded directory type info site. Well, again, okay, so back to what I'm saying, guys. If you can keep your site structure as simple as possible, that's always better. It's going to be easier to manage. It also is easier to direct page rank, right? Or link equity. In rank is another term for that, right? So that's internal link juice, internal link equity. It's much easier to direct that around a site when you keep your site shallower. As far as what I mean by that is when you don't get into these like deep taxonomy structures. Or in this case, like you're saying, parent pages and child pages, and then there's categories and subcategories, and then there's posts. You know what I'm saying? Like my point is, when you start getting deeper into the site, into like subdirectories or further hops from the root domain, the less powerful those pages become, right? The further hop that they get from, the more hops they go from the root directory, the root domain, the less power they have And also the harder it is to direct internal link flow. So I've said this for 8 years now, right? Keep it simple, right? As much as possible, try to use simple silo architecture. There are times where complex is required or is a better option. But just know that going into the project. And so I don't like using parent pages and child pages if possible, because again, that starts to add a lot of depth to the site that I think is unnecessary and makes it more difficult to direct internal link flow to the pages that I want it to. So I've, again, more recently, when I started, last 6 months or so, I've spent an enormous amount of time, getting better at organic SEO, because all I cared about was maps for so many years. And I've really discovered that it's much better to just keep the site as simple as possible, as shallow as possible, as far as depth in the hierarchy. And for that, I can direct PageRank or, internal link flow to the pages that I want in a much better, more efficient way. Okay. So again, Henry, I'm not sure what you're trying to accomplish with this, but, I would say, if you're going to have like domain.com digital marketing, and I wouldn't do like parent. Well, again, it depends on if you're doing a complex silo or a simple silo. If you're doing a complex silo where you've got digital marketing as your parent category, and then you have email marketing as a subcategory, then yeah, you might still want to do parent and child pages and create that kind of relationship there as well. But what I would suggest is, domain.com, and why not? If domain.com is entirely about digital marketing, which I don't know that it is, I'm just saying this as an example. If domain.com was entirely about digital marketing, then I would want to have email marketing as a separate, as its own category and top level page. And then digital marketing itself, that's what the whole site is about. Does that make sense? So I would have like email marketing, perhaps SEO, maybe PPC or paid traffic, content marketing, video marketing, like all of those could be top level categories, as opposed to domain.com, digital marketing, and then a shit ton of subcategories. But again, it just depends on what the overall site structure is, Henry. So I don't know without having some more information. Okay, moving on. Rogue Val, whatever, says, I plan on building these syndication networks as part of my SEO services for my clients. All will be branded, company brand for tier 1 networks. Okay, that's perfect. That's what you should do. I'm trying to create a checklist of information I need in order to successfully set up each one of these accounts on the client's behalf. Do I need to use my client's active Gmail G Suite, example, roger@companyname.com, or do you recommend I create a new free Gmail account for the sole purpose of syndication network setup? We always recommend just creating a new Gmail account. For example, if you were to buy it from our store, it didn't matter if you had corporate domains set up with emails, either on Google Workspace or just a branded Gmail or whatever. We wouldn't take that because we don't want your login details. We never asked for that, nor should anybody. So we would always just create a fake persona, create a new Gmail account under that fake persona, and then we would create all of the assets under that persona. You can always, add additional users to those accounts with the branded domain if you want at a later date. I don't see the point in that. There's really no need to. So we always just recommend creating a separate account, Gmail account for all of that stuff. And that's just because it's, again, you're going to get a bunch of spam mail from those platforms anyways, whether, Twitter and all those other sites and all that, you know what I mean? So we like to keep all that separate so it's not cluttering up the branded email account. And there's really it doesn't have to be attached is what I'm saying. Okay. Also, for phone verification, what's the recommended method if I'm going to be doing this for multiple clients? Oh, and by the way, just real quick, you said you're creating checklists. I create a lot of checklists too. I've been using Process Street for a long, long time for that. We've got a GMB process. If you guys, by the way, if you have not checked out my GMB process checklist on Process Street, go to gmbprocess.com. And all you got to do is opt in. It's free and you'll get it. And it's good. It works really well, guys. I put a lot of effort into developing the process, the GMB process that works, and it works every fucking time. Like, I have not found a location yet that it has not worked on in 90 days if you complete everything. And you don't need to complete everything in the GMB process checklist if only in like highly competitive stuff. Anyway, go check it out. what I was going to say was Process Street is a great tool for that. But more recently, and one of my small group members, Jorge, pointed it out, and it's pretty good too. It's called Flowster. I just picked that up and actually started building the GMB process that's in Process Street in Flowster last night. And it takes some getting used to, but I think there's a lot of power for process docs and training and workflows that you can build into that. So I was just mentioning that for you to check it out. Okay. Anyway, for phone verification, what's the recommended method if I'm going to be doing this for multiple clients and I don't want to use my own phone number to verify multiple client accounts? Yeah, you wouldn't be able to anyways. I don't know, to be honest with you, because all of our VAs or our builders, again, we have made the official split, so they're not our builders anymore. But when they were our builders, they're all in Philippines, and they would buy different SIM cards, which I guess, again, I've never done it myself, but apparently they would buy SIM cards for mobile phones, and I guess that changes the phone number. So they would use the same SIM card to do, verify as many accounts as they could, and then they would swap out SIM cards. And it was just an expense that we would, we would pay for so that they could do it. Again, I've never done that because we always had VAs that did that. So I don't know, that might be an option for you. Maybe not. I don't know how that works. I can tell you right now, trying to phone verify accounts is a bitch. It sucks. So I don't know the best way to tell you how to do it because, again, our VAs always did that. A lot of the ways that I did it years ago when I was verifying a lot of my own accounts, they just don't work anymore. Sometimes it makes sense to just find a good Google account or Gmail account provider that you can buy from that phone verifies them and let them handle all of that. Again, remember, if you're going to be doing a lot of this stuff in-house, like building networks and all that, and that's fine. I understand that. But maybe it makes sense to outsource the Gmail account creation to a provider that has a system in place that works, so that you don't have to go through that and reinvent the wheel. You know what I mean? So I would just ask around in some of the groups, like, hey, who are you guys buying phone verified Gmail accounts from? And make sure that, somebody can vouch for them that has had good experience with their accounts and that their accounts last for more than just a few days. The problem with trying to buy phone verified Gmail accounts from, like Fiverr providers and things, I've tested a lot of them over the years, and a lot of the times you'll get accounts that are phone verified, and then within a week they're suspended. And that really sucks, especially if you built a bunch of properties like Web2 assets using that email, and then it gets suspended. So I would recommend that you, again, ask around in some of the groups, what is your recommendation for phone verified Gmail account providers, and make sure that those accounts have remained active after several weeks, months, whatever, before purchasing. Okay. I don't have a provider that I can provide, or I would. I just don't have that for you because our VAs always did that. Eddie says, hey, gents, can we get an update on MGYB storefront? Last I heard it was closing. No, it never did. It didn't. It was part of the restructuring because Marco Marco decided to split and go off on his own with Rob. And so that was part of the reason we were just going to limit the orders to only SEO Shields. Again, they're still taking orders. If you have any questions specific to what they plan on doing in the future and everything else, I don't know. You'll have to ask MGYB support or in the Heavy Hitter Club Facebook group. I'm sure they can answer that there. They are still taking orders, though. There's no question. And like I said, I'm still absolutely using SEO Shields for my projects, guys. It's what we do. It works. It's fucking awesome. It protects your money site from all the other stuff that we want to do off page. It works. It's like a cocoon for your site. That's why it was called the SEO Shield, right? It shields your site and it works. So I'm still going to be buying them as well. Okay. Just to be clear, I don't want anybody thinking like we're just abandoning that. That is not it at all. It's an integral part of what I do too. So yes, you can still buy. Go to semanticmastery.com/MGYB and you can still buy stuff over there. Okay. Keith, what's up, Keith? I know from the name there. He says, I use Firefox Multi Account Container to protect my Google account, sandboxes each account. Since using it, I have not lost any. Awesome, Keith. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've not used the Firefox Multi Account. I'm still using the old version of Browseo. I think I talked about that at Pofu Live. And I know it's switched to Chameleon, which is the new version. And I have not had the time to import and transition to that yet. There's some other ones too. Ghost Browser, Session Splitter. That's the one that Brian Caddo, I think, has been promoting is Session Splitter. That's another one that you might want to check out. Another one I think is called Session Box. There's a lot of those kind of apps that will do that, which keeps profiles separate, and it actually retains like browsing history and cookies and cache and all of that kind of stuff, which is much, much more natural. Like we used to recommend with syndication, like when you're building web 2s and stuff, to go, yeah, I'm still using it, man. Keith, I swear to God, I'm still using it. It's crazy. And you have to open everything up in System Chrome. It's the only way it works. Anyway, I'm still using it. So, but yeah, we used to recommend using Firefox and then just like clearing cache and cookies between logging in the new accounts and all that. But that is so unnatural looking now. 8 years ago, that was fine. Now it's completely unnatural because every time you log into an account, if you have no history, everything's been wiped clean, then that's just very suspicious, right? So it just makes sense to use some sort of, and again, I know Firefox Profiles works. I know a few people that have done that. I've never even tried setting that up. So I don't know. But I know like Session Splitter is one, Session Box, Ghost Browser. There's a number of them out there now. I always recommend, guys, if you're going to be having, multiple clients, multiple types of accounts, you should use those types of programs. Okay. I think we're done. Henry says, thank you. Yes, this site is all about digital marketing and has that keyword in the domain name. Yes. So get rid of that top level category, Henry, that you were mentioning, and parent page. Like you don't need it, right? It's understood that the whole domain is about digital marketing. So I would just start with like email marketing, SEO, PPC, video, whatever it is, your categories, those would be all top level pages, top level categories. And if you can get away with simple silo structure where you're just doing categories and in posts for each one of those silos, do that. It will make your life a hell of a lot easier. Trust me. And you'll be able to direct internal link flow to where you want a lot easier that way. When you get into doing like I said, a top level category, then subcategories and in posts, now you're talking about at the post level, you're 3 hops away from the root domain. So it like at that point, you've got these, and it's easy to orphan pages that way, which means pages that have no way to link, like to get directly to them from top level pages. You have to go multiple clicks to get to those pages. That's a terrible way to manage a site, in my opinion. It's hard to direct link flow that way. So if it's all about digital marketing, the domain, just eliminate that digital dash marketing and just go straight with the top level categories. Your camera's on, Adam. Do you want to say something?
No, it's just hanging out and showing my face.
Right on, man. All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here. We will see you guys next week. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Chris.